Hey everyone, Daniel with HRT. Just wanted to bring you a quick overview of my primary rifle. We'd like to do a couple of these with some different setups that we have across within employees at HRT and folks we talk to. So we're gonna kind of kick it off with one of mine. This is a do-all rifle. Its intent is to be used from 5 yards to 500-600 yards, more if need be, but that's really the general space I'm thinking of for it. And some of the decisions that have been made on it are tailored towards that choice of distance and the idea of kind of being able to do a little bit of everything. So listen to some of the things that I'll share, look at it from your perspective, your uses, see what maybe you would want to do for your rifle, and maybe you can learn something, maybe we can learn something. Feel free to throw some things into the comment section. So as a very overall picture of this rifle, this is a Lone Star Armory TX4 upper receiver, and I just have it paired to an Arrow lower receiver. I'm going to change that eventually so that it's a matching set, but right now that's just the breakdown of it. And then it has a Night Force NX8 up top in a ADM 1.93 mount. It's running the HRT AWLS flashlight in an Arasaka body and then Surefire cam. So that's, if you don't really care to hear the rest of it, that's all you need to know. Now we'll get into a little bit more of what's going on here. So first off, who is Lone Star Armory? I ran into them at OTOA a couple years ago and got kind of a rundown of the company, and I've gotten to meet some of their people that work there and some of their representatives. And their idea and their founding from a combat vet in the Army, he got out and was kind of looking at all the other rifle options on the market. And if you go buy a rifle, especially at that time, it would be pretty basic, not a lot of features, maybe didn't have the best quality control. And so he started looking at, like, when everybody buys a rifle, especially think back to your first AR you might have bought, how many things did you change before it ended up being the setup you really wanted it to be? So their idea was to come out with a setup that would have all of the proper components, all the upgraded components, and all of the reliable components already installed, and you wouldn't have to go source that from 7 different manufacturers and kind of rebuild a rifle to have the things that you need to make it work for you. So that was their intent, and the way they accomplished that is by putting parts that they have either guaranteed or ensured that the quality is of a certain level for them, or they make them themselves. And then they will do all the installation, all the assembly with their gunsmiths, and then QC every rifle and talk to the customer to ensure that it has the proper gassing and such for what they're going to use it for. So when we set up this rifle, I told them I was going to use a Surefire mini can, and I wanted it to be a 14.5-inch barrel, and they did the rest. I told them I was going to use mostly 77 grain Sierra Match King ammo, so they set it up for that as well, and it's properly sprung and gassed for that combination. Then they went and test fired it with a comparable ammo and made sure that the entire system would function. So as opposed to other brands that might send 20 rifles out the door and 3 get checked, they're checking every one of them, they're test firing every one of them, and they can prove that the gun works by the time it leaves the door. Not just works well. So that's a brief summary there. I think everybody's pretty familiar with Aero Precision, so we don't need to get into that. Now, going over this particular rifle from tip to butt, as is standard in this industry, we must start in that order and do it all like that. Starting the tip, there's a Surefire, it's a mini 5.56, and it is hooked up to, it's a little bit stuck there, been shooting that. It's hooked to a Surefire 3-prong, just a basic flash hider, because I wanted to be able to use this without the suppressor if I wanted to, without having a aggressive muzzle flash and concussion. And then the Surefire mini can is just sized really well. It fits great on a 14.5, and it really reduces the sound and signature to an acceptable level without being too long, and then I have a 20-inch rifle, or too short and it's not actually doing its job. So that's a really cool feature. This particular TX4 is using a Hansen profile barrel, so that's what they've set up with for this rifle. Guaranteed sub MOA. It definitely does that and more. I have used this upper receiver out to 1,000 yards on a 24x24 with the 1-8, and it was doing excellent. And that's obviously up quite a stretch for 5.56, but backing it down to like 6 to 7, it's also phenomenal, and it's really, really consistent. So it's proven itself to me. Mounted up here on the rail is a 18-650 sized HRT AWLS flashlight. And it's got the 100 Concepts light cap on the front here just to make sure that there's not any reflection hitting that and ricocheting back, so it kind of keeps that hidden. And then if for some reason I bump this button, which I haven't ever done, but if I was to, the cap covers it if I have any accidental white light discharges. This light's awesome on this rifle because the rifle is so accurate and it's used in a do-all situation. This gives me some really good performance out the front, and I can see really far with it, but I also have great light for up close as well because the spill of the light is perfect. Knights Armor backup iron sights. Don't ask me where the back one came from. It's marked USMC. I don't know where that, it's weird, I don't know how that got here. I do have a mod button up on top here. I'm not sure if I'm going to stick with that. I have had some times where we've been maybe at a training event and I want to have constant light, and having to hold the button is not a problem, but it gets a little irritating. This has a bipod on it. I know it's kind of weird having a 14.5 with a bipod. It's hooked up to a sling mount, so I can just pop it right off and pop it on. But it's there because I took a precision class in October, and since this rifle is kind of geared towards any distance, I wanted to have this at least an option if I knew I would be taking an event or going somewhere where that's going to be more of what I'm focusing on, but I can still take it off and have, I think it's like 10.5 pounds without that and 11.5 with it. So it's a great balance. It's not too much in the way, and I can take it off if I don't need it. So usually this can go into my pack, and if I am going to be sitting up somewhere for a while, I can just attach it. As a True North Concepts hand stop, I really like this. I'm accustomed to using part of a vertical grip as the way to pull a rifle back into my shoulder. This lets me do that without it being super obnoxious or giant or blocking my way if I want to put the rifle up on some type of barricade. So great little addition there. And then this is just an M-LOK rail that is from LSA, and it's got all of your different, not just your top, bottom, left and right, it's got all the little intermediary spots, so you can mount doodads at various angles if you choose to. Another part that I added because of the class that I took last October is a little bubble level that goes right on the side here. And because it's mounted at this angle instead of, oftentimes I see it back here on the iron sight, I kind of like this because I can see it with my left eye while I'm still using my optic. Obviously I'm going to break the focus between the two still, but having it out front here lets me see a little bit further down the rifle and kind of get a feel for what's happening around the optics area. May not be the best choice. It was something that I just found and decided to try, and so far I think it's been helpful. The purpose of that is as you shoot at longer ranges, if your rifle happens to be canted, your reticle in here is not really accounting for the fact that the gun's canted, and this will tell you that. So it's a helpful tool to have on there. So now we're back at the optics section here. So this is the Night Force NX8. It has the DMX reticle in it, and it's mounted in the ADM 1.93 mount. I really like this optic and the reticle. The main downside is you do have a tighter eye box. So as you zoom into that 8 power, if you kind of get out of your particular eye box, you'll lose it pretty fast. But if you're in it, and it's pretty easy to find it, it's totally acceptable and works great. And if you need more forgiving, you can just back the magnification off. The DMX reticle is set up with that tree style, so kind of almost like the Horus reticles, where you have all of your different holds for your mils, and that's been really helpful when I've taken it out to long range stuff. But as you zoom out, because it's first focal plane, that shrinks down and just becomes part of the dot that's in the center. And the illumination on this optic is phenomenal. So if I am either using it in low light or I'm using it in a really bright sunny day and I need to see the reticle a little bit easier or faster, it truly is daylight bright. I can crank that up and it looks like there's a laser beam inside of my optic, and it's fairly impressive. Battery life is pretty good. I've left it on accident in the safe a couple times, and it's usually still on when I go back to it. The 1.93 mount works great for me because I have kind of an elongated neck compared to some of the other parts of my body, and so this allows me to have good eye relief, good area, like good cheek weld and such, without having to crane my head down or do anything funky like that. So I've really enjoyed that. And then this also has the 100 Concepts scope cap up front, so if I lift that cover, it has a honeycomb, and I'm able to see or not see some of the glare that oftentimes can happen with some of your other reticles, especially with LPVOs, that if that light is on inside the tube, that's also projecting light out front, and so this helps to break up some of that or clear out any reflections that someone else might be able to see in front of you. So this is really cool. I've been trying it out for a while now. I like it. It's pretty durable. I haven't broken it, which is that's saying something for me. And as we continue back, I just have more. This is the Knights Armor backups. They work. You don't have to spend that much money on them. I didn't have to spend that much money on them, but they work. They're good. And then in here, we've got a Radian, one of their gas buster style charging handles, which helps when you put the can on it. And then I like the oversized latch because I can get to it pretty easily. And then of course, a B5 Systems stock here because it's the best and for me. And then down in the trigger section, this is the Geissele SSAE trigger. I took the class in October with a standard mil-spec trigger, and afterwards I went back and swapped this from another gun because I really felt like one of the hindrances I had was the heavier trigger. So if anyone feels the need, we can ghost the trigger together, just because that's also common in the industry. So there's my wall. That's pretty short. It is a 2-stage. There's my wall and a very crisp break. And there's my nice reset, and I'm right back on the wall. So, all right, now one question that there might exist on this setup, because I did say it was a do-all rifle, there's nothing that really accommodates shooting at night on this besides a flashlight. While that flashlight is great, there's also going to be a time where you want to use night vision and infrared spectrum stuff, and I have not yet really identified what I want for this rifle. I have tried a couple of different lasers. I do have some dual fuel light stuff, or I'm sorry, dual lens light stuff, but I'm not really sure what I want to do with this rifle. In the past, I've done an ACOG with the RMR up top, and so I could just passively aim through my tube. But with this rifle, I'm not really sure yet. So we'll see. That's something that is kind of a work in progress. I usually, when I do night shoots, I'm using a different rifle that has a red dot on it. So that's also been part of my hesitancy to jump into a bunch of stuff with this rifle, because it's normally not the one I run at night vision stuff. But that is why you don't find any infrared stuff on it right now. So if you have some ideas, throw them in the comments. I'd love to hear some of your guys' selections or options for this. So this is a quick summary of this rifle. Because someone's, I'm sure, going to ask, this sling is a prototype that we have been playing with over here for a little bit. I don't know if anything will come to fruition with that. If you're interested in that, maybe leave some comments, reach out to us, inspire us. We like making things that you guys like, and we like equipping the people who use these types of systems. So this is a quick rundown of my rifle. Let us know what you think, what you might add, what you might take off, and love to hear your thoughts. And if you need flashlights, maybe some slings, obviously some of the other kit solutions and things like that, feel free to hit us up at hrttacticalgear.com. Thank you. See you at the range.